extended network within where you are now in Singapore, right? Yeah, fair enough. So now that you have, come and then, okay, let's talk about the personal value. So when you are picking your cards, maybe Fongsi, you want to share, when you are picking up your cards, does it immediately, the words look at you, you know exactly this is what I want, or what runs through your mind?
I think it's very interesting exploration because I think there are some overlapping values or the micro values across the cards.
Okay.
So to me, I don't think like one card speak holistically to what I have
Fair
done.
enough.
Yeah.
And how do you then pick your final three?
So there's that the pause is important.
Yeah.
And then it's connected to the first one, right? And I think it's very interesting when you put the SR words as IH. So if it's just what matters most to me, right? As a line versus what matters to me as I age. Now I have something in mind as an anchor point. Because I think we look for different things at different stages of life. Right? So then that become like the anchor point to look at what do I have now.
Okay.
Right? And what am I doing with what I have now, and what would be a destination or maybe a direction that I want to work towards. So that's good. So there's a lot of like some minor talks.
Okay, so now that you mentioned about the age part, we're going to ask a few younger people in the room. How do they actually feel when they do this? Natalie, you want to share? Yes.
To me, I felt like it was like quite a normal thing because I'm okay. Nobody knows my age, but like I'm 16 this year.
The youngest in this room.
So like I'm still schooling, and then normally in school we have like lessons called like character citizenship education, CCE basically. So we learn more about this kind of stuff like growth mindset. So I felt like it's quite a normal process.
Because they are in the growth mode at the moment, right? So naturally for them it's no brainer. So what about personal values when you're picking the cards? Is that difficult or it's just?
Yeah, it's kind of difficult in a sense because I was reflecting back on what you have said. Like you need to make like you may think that you have these values, but other people may think otherwise. So I was like trying to pick out a value that I think other people will see.
Okay. So you pick your final three because your mom agrees. You have to look, reconfirm. So Ili is my classmate, secondary school classmate. We have been close to, we've known each other for like since we were 13. So we've been together for a long time, and of course with the little girl tagging along with us doing our monthly exercise, that's how I got to know Natalie. She's a brilliant girl. So that's why I invited her to come for this event as well. She's literally on the growth mindset. She's trying to lose weight, feed and whatnot. So I think this is important for her from a part of growth perspective. So I'm going to ask another young person. Alina. So Alina is the younger one version as compared to Natalie. So you want to share how you view this?
Actually it's quite easy. Like, okay, I'll share what I feel is what matters to me the most as I age, right? It will just be happy and health. That's something that I treasure a lot. That's why when I'm looking the personal value, actually when I look at it, I'm just finding for happiness and health.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So you see the difference between when you are older, so to speak, right, versus the younger generation. What is the difference? Do you see the theme? What's the difference? I mean, what do you see?
You don't overthink.
Yeah. Why is that? Why is that?
I mean, you look at her, when I did my personal values, I think a lot. And then I start to streamline. It took me a while to come down to the final three. But I think the first question was also very important because when I look at the personal values, it has to tie to what matters to me most when I age.
Yes.
So there was a lot of thinking involved, how it evolves, and my value has to match what I age. So I thought there was so much science in it. And then when I heard her, she was just, okay, this is what I want as I age. So I'm just going to find the values and based on that. Who would have thought, right? I mean,
Exactly.
that was the correct. I thought that, yeah, why didn't I think of that? So So
Yeah.
I felt like I was really overthinking a lot of things.
Yeah, exactly. And that relates to my recent rock climbing situation. My nieces, one is 10, one is 11. I struggle with heights, so clearly when I was doing it, I was like really careful, make sure I don't fall, I don't hit the wall. When I'm jumping down, I need to think. The girls down there were like, "Tabu, can you go so faster? Can you do this?" And they were cheering on with me, and they were like, both of them were crawling and going up and down. I want to try this, I want to try this, I want to try this. We keep thinking, oh, this one looks easier, maybe I try this one. That one's a bit difficult, maybe I skip. So we really overthink. But why? Why do we overthink? Is it because through our past experience, sometimes good or bad, we say, okay, maybe we don't do this because it might hurt me, right? And then we're likely to cultivate the same thing to our kids as well. Don't do this because I've been there, don't do that. But what makes you think they will not succeed? I'm sure we are guilty parents to a large extent, me included. So I hope that exercise gives you a bit of that awakening. With that, then we were going to do a little bit different now. So now, given what you have done in terms of your values, so reflect on your current lifestyle. How that aligns and misaligns to your values. Anything that you will call out. Write it down in the paper. Then at the same time, identify your habit, beliefs, and routine that hinders your health goal. When I say health, I meant physical, mental, emotional, right? So take that in relations to the first two questions that we have done. You guys are ready? Maybe I'm gonna ask a different person to share what went through your mind when you talked about this. Anybody else who has not spoken? Otherwise, I'm gonna pick the name. Anybody wants to share how you feel when you are doing this two exercise relating? Andrew?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the number one, I think current lifestyle need a lot of exercise regularly. Find time for small ones.
Wonderful. And then,
Hindering health will be work. My character, being too helpful, being too capable, too responsibility. So when we are given a task to do the job, we give ourselves stress. That one I can't let go.
of course you can. See, limiting belief there. By the way, he's my cousin. He's my older cousin, my playmate at the same time when we were growing up together. So I dragged him here. So yes, he exercises regularly, but I guess his work takes him travels a lot. You still travel a lot? No, not so.
I know.
Because of COVID. After COVID, find a new way of working. I think that's a fantastic way, right? I remember before COVID, he used to be like most of his time is not in Singapore. So poor wife had to deal with the kids by herself. So anybody else wants to share? How do you feel? Marianne?
How I think it's easier said than done, yeah. When I was writing it down, I said I want to be healthy, I want to be this, I want to be that. I know I need to exercise, but I never really started. And so I feel it's easier said than done, and you need to have a lot of discipline, yeah.
Okay, so apart from discipline, what are the things that is stopping you from doing it?
Lazy. Really lazy. Yeah, it's like just don't want to do anything. I don't know if it's me, right? After work I don't want to do anything. I just want to sit on the couch. I just want to surf, watch Netflix. I just don't want to do anything.
Yeah.
That-
You're not alone, trust me.
oh yeah.
You're not alone. Important to identify it, which the self-awareness come in. Then what we're going to do with the self-awareness. So this is something that I also tell during, in a lot of my years in workshops and facilitating with employees as well. I always tell them, even if you have self-awareness, fantastic, because that's the first step, right? You enter the doors. Now, what are you going to do with the self-awareness after you know where the gaps are, where the strengths are? What happens is when someone knows but don't do anything about it, right? And then the self-awareness is nothing. So this is something that you guys have to think about. I'm not criticizing you, so I'm sorry if I say that way, but I'm not meant it that way, but I really mean that, you know, especially now you understand through why longevity health is so critical. Because I have friend's sister who recently recovered from a stage 2 cancer, and then she had a back fall with a hip fractured, and she couldn't afford because the insurance stopped her from claiming more because she has done her chemo and stuff like that. Then now she has to do a surgery. She couldn't afford more physio, so it becomes a vicious cycle. And she's only 60 years old. She used to be very active, and now she's just limiting to, and she has a urine bag that's attached to her now. So she's limited by activities. And you can imagine what ran through her mental health. So she's very frustrated. She loves photography. She used to do a lot of external events. Now she can't do any of those things. So think about those things. What you don't want is what Yvonne said earlier. What would you like to be in 85 years? I don't want to be sitting there, wheelchair and whatnot, right? So this is something that we want to avoid. All right. So then final stage, I promise, you guys need to now come up with your own wellness plan. Given your limiting belief, your self-awareness, your values and everything, I will now need you to do this 1, 2, 3. Now, given that what you have taken, step 1, I'd like you to, in simple words, starting with this, in 3 to 5 years' time, I'd like to be what your future self should look like. You want to envision it to look like. That's step number 1, right? Then step number 2, you create one wellness priority. Be it physical, mental, whatever that you want. In 3 months' time, I'd like to, so that, whatever. So that sentence needs to be completed. And it has to link to your values. The value, sorry, your vision statement. Vision statement links to your personal values. Okay? So that's step 2. Once you have established the 3 months, now when you write the 3 months, please don't say, I would like to sleep better. The sleep better is too superficial and too generic to execute. So you need to be more specific, like, do I sleep 7 hours a day continuously, for example, or exercise at least 2 times a week, and what kind of exercise? You write it down as well. It may not be something that you're doing now, but you envision 3 months' time, I hope I can try doing it like strength training, for example. Then step number 3 is where I'm sure you're familiar with SMART goal. Somebody can tell me, apart from HR people, what SMART goal?
Specific, actionable, realistic, and time-bound.
Wonderful. So we all do our performance management. so it's similar to that. It needs to be very specific, measurable. Like for example, if I were to do 2 to 3 times a week of strength training, for example, then how do I put some KPIs around it to make sure that I'm able to reach it? And this weekly goal will shift as we go in order to meet the 3 months, right? And that would mean your weekly goal, first step is one small change that is different from what you used to do that you'll make a difference. Just write one. Then decide how you're going to be holding yourself accountable. Is there somebody that's going to support you, or you're going to have something to track you? For example, like myself, I self-coach obviously, so what I do is I have an Excel sheet, I track all my exercise, so I know whether I'm improving. And I have a food log app. I track all my micronutrients, so I know what I'm eating. And then of course with Yvonne, I just said she's a bad influence. I take my weighing scale, I start measuring my food. So these are the things I start doing a little bit more, so to make sure that I hold myself accountable for the actions that I decided to do. Okay, with that, I give a few minutes to work on one
three money goal and one weekly goal, in line with your vision statement. If you're stuck, please let me know. Feel free to ask questions.
You know that feedback form? Yeah. It's also in. So how do you?
Might be able to access it here.
You think you can add on to the?
Yeah, maybe can add on. How to find it? So many folders. Oh, maybe not. Yeah, different. Oh
Maybe
wait,
through-
I sent it to you, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
That's
On
true.
WhatsApp, yeah. There was one that you updated. So far,
There. Oh.
yeah.
So probably need to anyone with the link publish. Okay. Then how do we share it there?
Can you add onto the Canva? Then I can
Need to
pull
create
out.
a QR code.
Oh yeah, that's right.
What's this one? Boy. Oh. Go away, window. Try again. Maybe there's an online QR code maker. Okay, it's published. Let's see what this means.
Copy the link.
No, it's not hard.
Okay, let's give it a minute and then we will.
It's very easy. I know what.
Yeah, one more
We
question.
are almost done, then we can have. Alright, so who have not spoken? So let's ask those people who have not spoken to share. You have your chance. I mean, people who know me in my training sessions, I always pick about people who doesn't talk. I mean, fair enough, right? You don't want the same person to be talking and he dominates the room. Okay, I'm going to ask, so who want to volunteer first before I arrow the person? I have a few people in mind.
I will volunteer.
Yes, Nicole.
Okay, so my future self is in 6 to 12 months time. I'd like to reduce my fat percentage to between 20 to 25%.
Wonderful. Yes. That's the music to my ears.
It's been ongoing for a year.
That's besides the point.
Yeah.
Making the goal is a start,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah.
Step 2.
Step
At least she has a personal trainer. That one I know.
Yeah, that's why I'm late.
Yes.
So in 3 months, I'd like to be more disciplined with my meal planning and stick to the macronutrients intake so that I can reduce to achieve the fat loss down to 20 to 25%.
Wonderful. Okay. Step number 3.
So I'm not very good at the food side of things. Okay, my nutrition side is a bit goya, yeah. Because I don't cook, right? I usually eat out. And as you know, with hawker food, it's actually very
difficult.
Carbohydrates laden, right? Choices are also more carbohydrates within Singapore itself, right? So I promised my PT, I'm going to write it here, say that I would track and take pictures of my daily food
and
send to my PT, okay? That's my accountable action, okay?
Okay,
that's it.
Wonderful. But Andy will give you another experience that he has a client diligently take photographs all her 3 meals, but none of it are meeting the macronutrients. So that can be if that is something that makes you a little bit guilty, like, oh, I justify why I eat nasi lemak. Go like, huh? So when he shared with me, I scratched my head. Like, why bother take photographs when you eat flowers for Instagram?
Oh my gosh.
Oh my god, that's funny. Whenever he shared with me, I go like, what's going on there? So yes, okay, great, wonderful. But by the way, I have the body composition scale with me today. So anybody who's interested to find out where the details of your analysis, you can feel free to stay behind. Then you can do a measurement because you have Yvonne there who can help to explain. Usually that's what I do with my client. Whether they want to lose weight or not, it doesn't matter. Because people like to tell me to eat healthy. So again, the char siu rice and duck rice, whatever that will come out. Then we say, okay, I'm not so sure that's healthy. Then the body fat is very high. So these are the things that you go measure. Because when you stand on the weighing scale, you only look at the weight. You don't, and to be honest, weight sometimes doesn't change very much. Like me, my weight doesn't shift. But what I want is really my visceral fats, my body fats goes down and then my muscle mass increases. So that's what I want to see. I don't care about the weight itself anymore. So that's something very important. Yeah? Okay? Alright, Claudia, you want to share what you go through when you were doing this?
The only thing I want to change is my sleeping habit.
And this is very common as
Try
well.
to go to bed early.
Okay. And then do you wake up in the middle of the night?
Not really.
Not really. It's only getting to bed earlier.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So what would your actionable plan would be? Your accountability partner helps? No.
Yeah, control me.
No. Wow.
He will go to bed early, then I will stay in the living room and watch my TV, my phone,
Yeah.
and my social media stuff until okay, I cannot
Take it anymore. So
yes, then I'll go to bed.
Okay. So what would you think you would do in order to shift that?
I don't know.
We have to have a chat later on. Anybody else who wants to share? No? Okay, I'm gonna pick Tian already. By the way, Tian's my son's girlfriend. So
For my future self, I want to improve my relationship with food. And my priority for the next 3 months will be to eat proper meals so I can see food more positive. And my actionable will be to eat at least 2 proper meals a day.
2 proper meals a day. The reason why she said that is because she eats more snacks than she eats her main menu. Which is very common, to be honest, for young people. Because they tend to go for the sugary stuff. Recently, I think Yvonne posted something on LinkedIn on bubble tea. So very interesting, and I love that article. So feel free, and then a lot of young people like bubble tea, right? Sometimes I scratch my head, I don't understand why. There's a craving of bubble tea, and I think that they give us some context of why. And sugar craving is one main factor. Especially for women. Why? Also because of our ovulation cycle. Because when we are in hormonal changes, right, we tend to crave for sugar. And how do we then manage? I think this is also another thing that I spend a lot of time discussing with my client. How do we manage that? Because sometimes you can be slim, but your visceral fat can be really high, right? And then people say, well, why? I don't look like one. Because that one is good, is all about what you eat, what you put into your body. And that as you grow older, it will become more apparent. When you're young, you get away with it, unfortunately. It's unfortunate, but you forgot about it until when you get 40 and 50. All right, so then finally, I'll open the floors to what we have seen. So we hear a lot. So maybe you want to join us here? So what we have seen here from the room throughout the last 2 hours on things that I would love to change. I'm struggling with sleep, with food, with whatever. What do you think would the biggest challenge to stop you from making even the tiniest change in what you want to do? Yes, please.
So thanks to both of you. We went through quite systematically the thought process because that's important.
Yeah.
You don't, as she was saying, you don't get time, you don't spend time thinking through these things. So
Yes.
thanks for helping us to really need those moments. The most difficult thing, everything, with due respect, everything you recorded here is common sense. Okay? But the toughest thing and where we would need support is putting it into action.
Yes.
Because we know this is right, but we procrastinate. We have hundreds of excuses for that. Somebody said work, sleeping late, watching TV. Those are excuses. Recently heard a very good speech saying, the moment you shed the excuses from your life, you tend to do things. That's easier said than done. So how do we overcome that procrastination part? Yes, it is good. I need to get up tomorrow, do 30 minutes of work. But okay, today I slept late, so from tomorrow I'll do it. How do we get into action? This is where we need help.
Maybe you want to share your experience before I say what I think, because this is a very common question, and thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I would add to the earlier conversation about change, and it's not easy, you need to identify what it is. So recently I had a conversation with a coach actually, and I said I really want to stop doom scrolling. It's so unhealthy, it's so unnecessary. And the worst thing about doom scrolling for me was delaying my bedtime. So then you identify that actually doom scrolling on the MRT is okay, right? It's a daytime, you just want to have a bit of fun. But then doom scrolling, so to stop doom scrolling, but you don't want to stop all doom scrolling. I identified at 10 p.m. on those doom scrolling. And then you have to understand why it happens, right? So it happens because you're sitting on the couch, you're so comfortable, the phone is just there. And so ultimately the final solution was that stop using the phone before you watch TV, and then go and charge it, and then it doesn't leave the charger from then on. So once you finish TV, then it's off to bedtime. So this is, I mean, it's so simple, isn't it? And if you think about how simple it is, like the steps have to be broken down into such simple steps, then you have to do the same for whatever you're trying to achieve. So for exercise, it's the lifestyle tips and tricks that people would use aside from knowledge is just be prepared. Especially the easy examples would be like for aerobic activity. If you're tired after work, then or if you drive by the gym, why don't you have your gym gear if you're on your way on the train, or carry your gym clothes with you. If you want to do it from home, make sure that your shoes are already there. Make sure that, I mean, some of us are quite big, then you always want to look good. So make sure that your favorite exercise top is there already. Make everything as easy as possible so that you go and do it. Just like doom scrolling, isn't it? If I leave my phone next to me, it's just too easy. So then in that case, you want to make it as difficult as possible. So you put it away so that you have to get up to do it. And then conversely with exercises, like make it as easy as possible to do it.
What's your take?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, before I say what I want to say, maybe I'll get Ivy to share, because it's a recent experience, and I think she did a very good job in shifting that mindset. So maybe Ivy, you want to share?
One of the things that I tell myself, I trick myself when I go for exercise. So there was just recently, we have already agreed the night before that we're going for a walk. So the next morning, I was finding all sorts of excuses for not going for a walk. He's already waiting. But I just couldn't bring myself up. So I was lying on bed, thinking of ways to trick him in saying that I can't, my legs big, my shoulder, just to get myself out of it. He was standing there. So I said, you know what, it's good for us, we really have to go for a walk. So I tricked myself into it. I said, it's just a 5 minutes walk. I tell my brain it's 5 minutes. So I go out. It is the starting point. It is that first 5 minutes. So I tricked myself and I got up. We went for a 5-kilometer walk eventually. So for me,
what about your sleep part? Remember?
Yeah, the sleep part. Yeah, so we had an issue because I haven't been sleeping well. So at first, when we first started, I wake up like maybe 4 to 5 times a night, and that's quite a lot.
And to you, it was normal at the time.
Yeah,
right?
to me it was normal because so I think it's really all about mindset and changing the little habits. Because number one, I didn't drink enough water in the day. So when I went home, I decided to I didn't have enough water intake for the day. So I started drinking a lot of water just to compensate. And that, to me, I think that's not the right way to do. So as a result, I wake up frequently to go to the toilet. So I had a mindset change. I needed to change that, and I had to remind myself to drink, spread it out so that I'm able to not drink so much water in the evening and not waking up so many times. One of the habits that I also had was I like to scroll on my phone just before I sleep. It's like my bedtime story, TikTok, whatever, shopping, anything, until the phone dropped and then I'll fall asleep.
Sounds very familiar, right?
And then I'll fall asleep. So we worked out a plan and said, okay, we put the phone away. Instead of having the phone close to us, because it's easy, Winnie actually taught me maybe, just calm down a little bit. We tried different things initially, try to do a little bit of meditation and all these things. That didn't work. The monkey mind, I had problem managing my monkey mind. So that didn't quite work. And then we started to do some stretching exercises just before. So instead of using the phone, I changed it to a little bit of exercise, stretching. And then, just calm it down.
And then you put your phone aside at a certain time.
Yes.
And she did a fantastic job in
So,
a few weeks.
In a few weeks. So
Yeah.
I still wake up once in a while to just go to the toilet, but because of I think it's a lot of things, not just one thing, but really making sure that I drink water throughout the day and not just at the end of the day just to compensate. And and that helps a lot.
And I just also to give you a context, so I knew her for many years, but we didn't stay in touch, and we kind of stayed in touch on social media rather. So then fast forward, as I was starting the business, she has been actively following my posting, and then I was like, oh, Ivy has been following my posting, so I reached out to her. Then she was very excited about what I do, so we decided to meet up for a drink, and then we had coffee, and then she said, Winnie, I really need help, so can you help me? So that's how she became my client. And why I asked her to share her story, and I find her very amazing because we only spent even though there was a lot of disruption in between, because she has gone for holiday, then she had the surgery, and she has a very busy work schedule as well. She had back-to-back meeting. So it's a typical corporate life, I would say, and I think everybody would resonate with that. But in a few weeks, all I asked her to do is, what would you do about that? How can you do this thing? So I kind of we went on an exploration journey, and she herself found the answer, and of course with lovely husband help. You know, accountability partner is very, very important. Imagine the husband is not ready there walking, she will probably say, okay, forget about it, right? So that is a crucial moment. So every time I have a client who said, I have a spouse, I would likely to say, what do you think your spouse would think about? Would you share with your spouse about this? So I always go with an accountability partner first. And she herself tell me, oh, I would do it this way. Of course, if initially it didn't work, then we say, okay, we tweak it. So it's all about little changes. And just in a month, even though she said, oh, Winnie, I'm still not happy enough, but fair enough, but then she has already making progress without her knowing. If I wasn't there, if she doesn't tell me what will happen, and I have clients like this, she would think that, oh, see, all my efforts that I've done with you is gone to drain. I give up. The motivation hits to the rock bottom. So then when they talk to me, and I say, look, but you have done this well. You've done this well. You didn't do it well, but out of the 3 things, you have done 2 well. So why are you beating yourself up? So it's an encouragement as you go along. Then she'll say, that's true. Why didn't I think about it? Because they were narrowing down, focusing on things you're not doing well. You're not looking at what you're actually improving. Then that's where we fail, because the overthinking starts to happen. So again, mindset shift, as what Ivy said, was very critical, and that's why we say, okay, we'll continue and we'll see how it goes. And so that's basically how you've got to answer your question. That has to happen that way. Yeah, it has to be very structured. Unfortunately, it cannot be. Oh, I have a client who loves flexibility because she's a creative artist. So creative artists will have 10,000 things they want to do. So how do you then nail them down to say you need to do a structure? Then she along the way said, but if you give me so many structures, I will be confined to, not doing certain things. I say, think about it that way. If you're talking about exercise plan, I'm confining you a structure, a framework, whereby you need to do 2 to 3 times exercise, for example. But I did not restrict you what kind of exercise you do and when are you going to do it. You can do it, maybe I have free times in the morning, I'll do it in the morning. Or maybe the other day I'm busy because of my calls and meetings, I do it in the evening. The flexibility is yours. You can do swimming, you can do cycling, you can go to the gym, up to you. So long you are able to commit 2 to 3 times a week. That's good enough. So she go, okay, I can deal with that. At least you must have a big framework. You can't go free spirit. But the moment you do that, it's not going to work. It will fail, for sure. So these are the things that we all have to, little structure that we need to put in your daily life, then that will work, that will in terms of change, right? Okay? And sleeping, another one. I have a client who loves to sleep 2-3 a.m. in the morning, because that's where she starts actively working. In the day she's not so active, but in the night she's very active. But she said to me, Winnie, I have been a night owl my whole life. What makes you think you can't change? You don't want to change or you can't change? That's a question you have to ask yourself, right? So then we start with 15 minutes earlier. Okay, I can do that. So she succeeded very quickly. 15 minutes, no brainer. From 1:30 to 1:15. Then I say from 9, if you wake up at 9:30, can you wake up at 9 o'clock? No, when I do this, okay, but can you try? She's willing to give it a try. I say 9:15. Then she said, no, you say 9:15 is definitely 9:30. I know myself well. So let's do 9 o'clock. Okay, fair enough, let's do 9. So it's all about themselves, right? So, and all I did was just a small shift.
and just keep going. So that's the little things that I see that is important. Right, wonderful. So hope that helps to set the context. With that, I'm going to then wrap it up by talking a little bit about what we offer. So again, like I said, Yvonne and I, this is the first time we are working together, so I hope you enjoy what we're doing, and this is the model that we are hoping to move towards too. The first part is typically how I offer from a wellness coaching point of view. Usually, as you already experience it in that 2 hours about understanding your lifestyle assessment. So usually what I'll do is I will give you a well-being questionnaire. So for you to answer, so that we know currently where you're at in terms of energy level, your eating habits, your sleeping pattern, your exercise, any pre-medical condition, or any even relationship. We even talk about, do you have any life events that happened recently, like the death of somebody at home? Because all these grievances can also affect you in general emotionally. So all that will capture in a well-being assessment. Then when we finally met, we will then do a personality assessment, and we'll do a behavioral insights, because through personality assessment we will know what kind of profile you are and what kind of help I can offer you. Because again, like I said, right, whether you're extrovert, introvert, you are a thinker or you're an executor, your behavior will shape what you would like to look forward to. Then we do the value card, as you already seen, the vision statement. What we didn't do, of course, if I were to do a one-on-one or a small group setting, we will really go deep into why did you pick these 3 cards? Tell me a story. Because it always links to a life story. And then I'll ask you that 100 million question, if everybody look at it, does it resonate with everyone else about you? So this is a question I always ask, because that gives a lot of clarity before you set your vision statement. Then we will go into, because we are doing mostly in a group, or of course one-on-one will be just me and this person, but in the group sharing, why is it effective for group coaching? Also because you can then share different experiences that we just have experienced it as well. Then we will set our 3 monthly goal and our weekly goal. We will then do tracking progress. So what I do is I will create an Excel sheet. I will have always the vision statement, the values, the background information about yourself, and then your body composition, all that as an overview. Then from there, I will create a monthly and weekly tables where we will track. Every time we meet, I will put comments of what you shared. Then what is the new week of goals that we set? Then we track from there. And then from there, we will also do a food log. Generally, I just tell them, it's a free spirit, simple template. Just tell me every day what do you eat. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, what time. Timing is very important as well, because your body works on a specific timing. If you can't eat breakfast one day at 9 o'clock, tomorrow at 10 o'clock, and then the other day at 7 o'clock, your body doesn't understand when are you feeding me, and that also can create issues within your own body as well. So having a very systematic approach is also very important. So these will all fall under what I will do for my client. So then, of course, with Yvonne's involved in this program, we will also do closer to that, which I will let Yvonne explain what we cover in this assessment.
Yeah, so that's the briefest list of assessment that is possible. It's with assessment, it's really a question of how long is the piece of string, and what are we assessing for. So that really needs some the agreement, come to an agreement about what we want to assess. But in a nutshell, what we can do is an assessment as well as an education session. So think about it as a bit of a small group lecture and tutorial to ask any questions that you want to ask. What's stopping you from exercising? So that's not so much of the motivational side of things, but is it what part of the lacking of knowledge possible that you don't know, and that's why you don't start. And that's where I come from. I feel that a lot of people don't want to start. I mean, fear aside, it's because they just don't know what to do. And maybe sometimes going too hard as well. Why were you going so hard? You actually don't really need to do that, depending on what you're training for. So a bit of a education session, and then bump it up with a practice session, and that should equip you to do it by yourself until you need to progress to the next stage. So I didn't touch on this progression, but progression is very important. The unfortunate thing about exercise is that if you get stronger, then you cannot do the same exercise. You have to do something harder. But periodization is a concept that is commonly applied to athletes. So for example, Olympic athletes, they actually periodize to be at their peak performance on the 4th field during Winter Olympics. And because periodization to me is like, oh, I got a cold last week, so my fitness is down. And I'm going holiday and then I forget to exercise or I ate too much. And then, oh, okay, back to normal routine, this is pretty good. Yeah, so it is kind of true that life goes up and down. So to me, that's periodization in the normal sense of the word. But yes, understanding what you should do and could be doing is I believe, one key motivator to starting an exercise program or a nutrition program.
Thank you. And of course, having her in part of that wellness coaching process, it's also helping to do a good check in whether are we progressing well. So I work, my business model, I work with multiple people, Andy as one, as I will mention, because when you have an expert doing deeper into it, then for me as a coach, I would then mirror and work together to see how we can holistically support the client to be more successful. Because what we don't want is they go somewhere else and they try and error something and they come and tell me, sometimes they might not tell you the full truth. So you do not know whether are they doing right, for example. I have clients who love doing the exercise, high intensity exercise, but the person has a very stressful job and not sleeping well. And I told this particular client, please scale down your high intensity exercise because it's too heavy burden to your body, because it stresses your body even more. So these are the things you have to check in. And then if I have a trainer who's, thank God this person is taking up Andy's training, so then Andy and I can work together to say, hey, this person has this lifestyle and this, you need to watch out for something. Then he will then work closely with this person to make sure everything is done correctly so that he can also tell me where the person is progressing. So we can then support this person in a much better way. Because otherwise, the person may go and do some 50 kilo weights and suddenly the cardio, or maybe, this cardiovascular just can't handle and what's going to happen to this person. So we have to be very careful in managing lifestyles the right way. Now, I will just special mention, because given that Andy is here, and Andy is a coach that I have been working with for the last 8 years. From the day that, he has seen me through my weight loss, my rehab twice, and of course where I am right now. So, he's somebody that holds me accountable for, whereby sometimes I get lazy. I love to train, but at the same time, sometimes when he say, oh, would you want to do a little bit, oh, my Lord, it's still painful, maybe not do so much, that kind of thing, and then he has to be careful with me. So, but he will then push to say, I think you can't fake it, right? If I can carry, he knows I can carry. So he says, we can do a little bit more. Or sometimes I say, oh, I think I can, I'm good. So let's do 50. He says, no, your body is struggling already, you have to slow down. So these are the things to prevent you from injury, especially when we are older. Unfortunately, love it or not, I don't have a body of 30 anymore. So I need to learn my body to say, okay, I'm advancing at the point where I need to make sure I'm safe as well. So but I love my strength training, that's why I see him twice a week. And again, like I said, he's very reliable in my personal view, and he has seen me through all these changes. And I think it's important that you find and what Yvonne has mentioned right at the beginning, finding the right trainer is very, very important. I've seen trainers who just do the work by the book, and you don't want to spend money on those things. So with that, this is a special program that we designed together, and this is a small group size of 3 to 6. And as this special price, if you are interested, this is an 8 session, by the way, total of 8 sessions, with 2 of that and 6 with me. And if you are interested, then you can contact me before 30th of June. And that's it. So any questions so far, or any comments, feedback that you will see from the last 2.5 hours we have together? We are right on time. Any comments for us? This is the first time we're doing this together, so any feedback, comments works for us to keep improving?
A lot of reflection, definitely, and a lot of feedback. It's like an eye-opener, like we have never thought about ourselves in this way, so this session has really, triggered those small thoughts that we would have never actually thought about. Thank you, this session was really enlightening that way.
Thank you very much.
Now we will have more conversations when we go back home. And then
you can hold each other accountable.
Yes, so both of us have to do that. So
wonderful, wonderful.
So one very fundamental question I had to you. What is better, like brisk walking or slow jogging?
So it depends on what suits you at the moment, what conditions you have at the moment. Brisk walking up to a certain point actually burns more calories than slow jogging because it's inefficient movement. So if that's what you're after, then maybe a fast brisk walk is better. Slow jogging, perhaps you're asking that question because eventually you might want to go fast. And going fast is actually a great progression. And then that goes back to that slide about training the different energy fuel systems in your body. And ultimately, we do want to move fast. Once you build a good base of the strength, actually the progression ultimately is actually towards power. And power is not just about how strong you are, it's about how strong and how quickly you can move a weight.
Yes.
And we want that because it helps us in terms of even day-to-day living. If you trip over something, it's actually your muscles' ability to contract quickly that saves you from the fall. So some people just don't have the brain connection to the muscles or not enough muscle mass to contract quickly enough to save the trip. Okay, so ultimately we actually do want to move fast, but at the base we need to build a good base first before progressing to further. So the challenge with moving fast is injuries.
Yes.
So if you use momentum, if you swing without the correct technique, like the kettlebell exercises that we do see, without building a good base and using momentum incorrectly, actually leads to injuries. So that's why there are pros and cons.
And also to top it up, and also it depends on the lifestyles as well, right? So if you have not started something vigorous, I would not encourage. I would rather you go slow, get used to the momentum of exercise on a regular basis, then you pick that up. There are people who say, oh, I just want walking because I don't have time. But you think about it, if you walk, say 15, 30 minutes, does it really help? The question is on mental peacefulness, or is it truly, from a physiology point of view, helps to burn fats or whatsoever? It's something that you need to think about. And what you are after, the goal is important. Then if let's say somebody said, okay, I only have 30 minutes, right? And I really want to burn some fats, for example, then will running be better than brisk walking? Is what your choice will be. So these are the things that you will need to think through before you decide what is best for yourself.
Yeah. Do you have WhatsApp there? The QR code for the feedback is actually there.
Oh.
In your WhatsApp chat.
This one?
In your WhatsApp chat. In your WhatsApp chat on your laptop.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, the QR code for the feedback on that. So we'll hang around. If you can, Winnie will bring up the QR code for the feedback form. And if you can scan it and put in a few words, that would be really helpful.
Oh, I think it's not uploaded.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's what's not
Probably laptop, not Wi-Fi.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's right.
Alright.
I can link it. Link it to my own.
Maybe just to Yvonne,
Okay.
to assist with the wrap up.
Yeah.
Maybe say a couple of words because I have a little bit more experience than most people here, almost 3/4 of a century. And having listened to the presentations, both angles today, and very well put, I thought, having not heard Winnie's presentation before, but having heard Yvonne many times. And with 14 years of following Yvonne's guidance and listening to the way that you were told the story here today, I think I can add a couple of elements. I guess when Yvonne started talking to me 14 years ago when I was 60 years of age about getting myself back into a decent condition, and the deal was pretty simple. She said, you know, if you're contemplating inviting me to marry you at some stage, then you've got to be in decent condition. Because I don't want you dying 10 years after we commit to one another. Okay, sounds like a fair proposition. So we talked about nutrition, exercise, taking up a new sport, which is why I got into mountain biking. And I think the thing I found most daunting at the time was the thought of having to spend a lot of time in a gymnasium. Because you had to drive there, and you've got to commit the hour, and you've got to drive back, cost money, too hard. But what I've learned through the 14 years is that the guidance that the gymnasium or the personal trainer gives you initially is very important. Once you have the fundamentals worked out, you can do it on your own. Also, I've learned that a lot of the supplementary work you do from an exercise perspective can be done at home. As simple as using the edge of the bed, putting your heels against the wall, and doing 45-degree push-ups off the bed. Lots of things you can do. Water container exercises. So many things. And you only have to allocate 15-20 minutes every second day. And I found that doing that actually supports, doesn't necessarily build the strength, but supports it. The older you get, the more difficult it is to maintain the strength. So the commitment has to be pretty dedicated, very dedicated. But I'm just saying there's other ways you can do it, rather than thinking, oh my God, I've got to go to the gymnasium 4 times a week. There's so much more that you can do. The other element that I found is really important in terms of general mobility and making yourself able to do sports and commit to a broad positive lifestyle is, Yvonne mentioned balance, very important. So I go to the gym and stand on that half ball thing on one foot and look out the window and see how long I can do that for. And I started doing this, particularly on the ball. You can only do it for a few seconds, but it's amazing how your brain learns and teaches itself to take control subconsciously of the muscle movements to find the ability to balance again. And balance is just so important in our lifestyle, irrespective of what you do. But the other element, Yvonne taught me earlier in the piece, flexibility. So those yoga mats, you buy a lot of stores, $10, right? And that just saves your knees when you're on the floor at home. Basic yoga movements, you can find them on YouTube. They make a huge difference. You get down and you do your down dog and your pigeon and half pigeons and so on. And the first time you do some of these poses, you feel, oh, that's hard, I just can't do it. But you do a half pigeon 16 times over a few days, and in a week or two's time, 3 weeks' time, they become easy. And flexibility again, in terms of maintaining an active lifestyle, is important. If your body's flexible, you're less likely to cause yourself an injury when you stoop down, pick up something heavy. So there's all these elements. The program that these two have put together and invited you to join them at a future time over several sessions will explore all of those things. So my deciding right now just to stand up and say these few words is to give you the opportunity to sort of think about the broader set of things that you can do, rather than just focusing on the discipline. I've got to go to the gym several times a week, and I've got to change my diet radically. I mean, diet in Singapore is particularly challenging because of the ratio of carbohydrates to proteins that you find typically in local food, as was described. So it's a big challenge, but it can be done with supplementation, things like soy products and the like. So it's out there. You just got to learn to better use it, but still make the process of feeding yourself enjoyable. So there's my few thoughts. Everyone's also asked me once we break and before people disappear to just take a approach view of you. Take just a 10-second video. This is giving you time to think about it. Just one thing that you've learned from the presentations today. And I'm not going to approach everybody, enough time for that. If you want to opt out, that's fine too. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. So what we plan to do is, yes, this is the QR code. Give us some feedback, and at the same time, please hang around. Just bear with us for a few more minutes. We'll take a group photographs, and like what Chris mentioned, yes, if you are, if whatever that you think that you have learned something from one or two here, please do allow us to take a short video of you, because that's beneficial for us as part of what we are doing and what we will learn. Right? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And one last thing before we go, that I cannot forget, is who lent us this space. Yes. So this is really a personal favor, to be honest. I'm Chin Chen over there, the young, handsome-looking gentleman. So he's a friend of mine that I met at a hiking trip last year, and very nice gentleman. He knew that I was doing this business. He introduced me to his boss. Boss happens to be part-timing doing leadership coaching as well, so he was very generous in sharing how I run my business. So I met him twice, and they even offered me, if you really want to use this space, let us know, use it for free. So I'm very grateful. There are very good people along the way. The last 6 months has been really, really beneficial for me because I have good people like them that helps me along. Otherwise, I wouldn't have such a nice office for so many of you to be in here. So, and then lastly, before you go, please help yourself with a little bit of cookies. So although this time round I didn't have time to bake myself, usually I do. I will bake healthy cookies to make sure that people get to taste something healthy and tasty. But unfortunately, last night I couldn't have time, so I went to the supermarket and read the nutrition facts, the labels, before I buy what is healthy. So please help yourself before you leave the place. Okay, thank you very much. So shall we take the group photo first? Because I know some people are rushing to leave.